webinar. Welcome to the November webinar. My name is Derek Little, and I am the CARES Peer Workforce Coordinator for the Georgia Council for Recovery. Above all, I'm a person in long-term recovery. What that means is that it has been 4 years since I had to use a drink or drug to change the way I feel. As a result of recovery, I am a better brother, a better friend, a better son, and a better overall person today as a result of recovery. This 1.5-hour training provides participants with an in-depth look into mindfulness. Developing a mindfulness practice can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. In this session, we'll explore quick practices you can easily use in daily life, along with supportive techniques for those unexpected high stress moments. Whether you're seeking skills to strengthen your own self-care or tools to support your peers, these simple evidence-based mindfulness strategies can help sustain and enhance recovery for all. Housekeeping. This will be interactive, so we ask for your engagement and participation. Please keep your microphone mute if you are not speaking. As the host, I will mute people as needed. Everyone who remains until the end of the webinar will receive 1.5 CEUs. You will receive a certificate from Alvin Cotton, the CARES database coordinator, to go out later this week or next week. Anyone who shows up more than 15 minutes late or must step away for that long may continue to attend the webinar, but they may not receive credit. You can search for the name Alvin in your inbox if you can't find the certificate. Make sure the name on your screen matches the name you want on your certificate and that you have included your pronouns so that we can address you correctly during the webinar. First, we will do a poll. Let's see who's here. And I'm launching that poll right now. The poll should be up on your screens.
Yeah, looks like we got a bunch of cares in here.
Yes, yes.
Aspiring cares, a couple clinicians, recovery allies, CPSMH, CPSPs.
Sure what some of those are. I know I haven't done my cares yet. I do have my interview on Monday, so but I do work in a recovery rehab. So
Awesome, Deborah. Thank you for
am
being
I allowed
here.
to be here?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
I'll see you
Great, thank you.
Monday, Deborah.
Oh yeah, yes, thank you. I'll be there.
That's when I have my interview also.
Oh, great, good.
We look forward to it, y'all.
All right. We have more people answering the poll. Cass, is that everybody?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All right. Take-
We just shared the results to you too, if you can see it.
Okay, cool.
And then stop sharing. Okay.
All right, cool. All right, and now I'm going to pass it over to Leonard Miles and Meryl Arnett.
All right. Thank you so much, and welcome everybody to Making Mindfulness Make a Difference. My name is Miles, and I am a person in recovery. And I'm really excited to be sharing these practices that have changed my life. I'm hoping that tonight we have a little bit of fun and we learn something together. And I guess I met Meryl almost 4 years ago, and the kindness and skills that Meryl showed me have changed my life and sustained my recovery. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that and our goals for this evening. But for now, I'd like to introduce you to my teacher, friend, and co-host for the evening, Meryl Arnett.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you. I am a meditation teacher of about 15 years, I am the daughter of a parent who's been in recovery for 41 years and been witness to that journey. And I have been teaching in a recovery IOP program for about 12 years. My work has really been in looking at the broad lens of meditation through a myriad of lineages and pulling out the relevant pieces that make meditation feel really accessible, useful, helpful in our everyday lives. So I'm less interested in meditation as a 10-day silent retreat, and I'm much more interested as meditation as something you have in your pocket to support you as you move through your day. And so that's a lot of what we'll be talking about today. I will be keeping a good eye on the chat as Miles walks us through this presentation. If questions come up for you, please feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll pause occasionally to answer, and at the end, we'll have a nice chunk of time for Q&A, so we'll be able to address any questions that come up. Thanks.
Excellent. So I am a person in recovery and a graduate of CARES 66. And 4 years ago, I was not a fan of mindfulness. When my dog and I, Olive, entered treatment with Meryl, she facilitated the yoga and mindfulness for stress management group at 1 p.m. on Tuesdays. And it was awful. Week after week in the group, I told Meryl exactly how awful these practices were for me. We did chair yoga and we did it like seated. And I told her how much my body hurt. And then it would be time for us to sit still and be quiet and meditate. And that was even worse. It was uncomfortable sitting still. The quiet was either boring or overwhelming because my mind was running. And sometimes I would just start crying in the middle of meditation. Like I said, it was awful. And slowly, over time, I began to buy in because I was finding that these practices were things that I was using, not just in the treatment room, right, at 1 o'clock on Tuesdays, but they were actually transferring into my life outside that I was living and the recovery that I was developing. So they've become a really important part of my life, and I'm really excited to share them with you because now they are really the foundation of my recovery. And mindfulness matters, but making mindfulness matter means taking it outside of wherever we're learning it. Meryl likes to say off of the cushion and into our daily lives. So today I've picked some of my favorite practices to share with you in the hope that you and through you, your peers will also experience the gifts that these practices have to give. All right, so today we are going to talk about what mindfulness is, why we should do it. We're going to introduce you to some foundational practices. We'll talk about a really cool thing called awe. We'll have a little talk about practices that we can use as a life raft in emergencies. And we'll talk about how we can be kind to ourselves through the practice of compassion. And then we'll do a tiny little meditation practice. And Meryl, if you're ready, we will do poll question number 1.
All right, we want to know, what is your experience with mindfulness today? That is so interesting. Almost neck and neck. I practice regularly. I tried it out a little bit. I've never heard of it. I've heard it. I haven't tried it. Nice. I will say the majority of my groups, I think most people come in, the majority with no experience. And then I've been teaching long enough that I have actually ended up having a lot of students who started with me, just like Miles, saying, I hate it, or I've never heard of it, I don't want to do it. And then ending up going through teacher training so that they could lead meditation themselves a couple years later. All right, looks like everybody's responded. I'm going to end this and share results so you guys can see. About neck and neck there with I've tried it out somewhat and I practice pretty regularly. So I'm excited for you guys to get to try some of these practices that we'll do together today.
All right. So excellent. And if you have a chance or are so inclined that you printed out the little worksheet that we sent out beforehand to take some notes, now is your time to use that. We're going to start at the front, I believe it's top left-hand corner. So what is mindfulness? Essentially, it is the practice of being here now. And that sounds really simple, but we all know it can be a lot more challenging than it sounds. So let's break it down. Mindfulness has three elements. I like to use the acronym POW to remember them. The first one is being present. You have to be here to be mindful. So being present and aware of what's happening and doing that on purpose. And the last element is being present on purpose and without judgment. The without judgment piece is really important. If you are judging, by definition, you're not present in the moment. And typically, judgment isn't intentional. So we can't be judgmental and mindful at the same time. With that in mind, I like to add an additional W, and that is adding the element of warmth. This is simply a reminder to be kind when you're practicing. Your mind's going to wander, you're going to judge. Being compassionate in mindfulness means that it's all okay. It's a practice. There's not a way to do it wrong because you're practicing. So why does mindfulness matter? Especially, why does it matter for our recovery? Well, physiologically, mindfulness increases gray matter in the brain. It's been shown to reduce the size of the amygdala. Just as using a substance or behavior of choice rewires the brain, so does mindfulness. Studies by the National Institute of Health show that rates of long-term recovery increase when individuals participate in mindfulness-based relapse prevention rather than just traditional treatment and relapse prevention. And additionally, people had significantly lower rates of substance use if a recurrence of substance use did occur when they practice mindfulness-based relapse prevention. This is why it's imperative that we not only teach mindfulness in a treatment setting, but provide the skill that people need to carry their practice with them beyond that environment. So mindfulness is broken down into three aspects. The research has defined these as a state, a trait, and a practice. So a state is something that is going to come and go, right? Like any emotional experience, or like being hungry. I might be hungry at 3 o'clock, but not hungry at 5. So it comes and it goes. When I experience that state enough times, it becomes a trait. You may have met people that seem to be angry, right? And they're not actually angry, they just appear to be that way. Well, it's because they've experienced the state of anger or of fear or whatever that is enough times that now it has become a lasting trait. So to move from that state to trait, what is required is practice. All right, so here we are with the practices. The first set of practices are what we like to call foundational practices. And a lot of you probably already do these. They're gratitude and affirmation. I know when I work with peers, I talk about these skills all of the time. We practice them daily because we want to reset our baseline of thinking so that when a moment of stress does come, the first place your mind goes is to a positive fallback rather than into a reactive spiral. And to do this, I recommend having 3 rote elements for both practices of gratitude and of affirmation. The reason why is that it eliminates having to come up with something in the moment. If I am activated, it's really hard for me to think of what I'm grateful for in that moment. When I work with peers in developing these practices, a lot of times I get the response, well, I don't actually feel grateful for this, or I don't believe this affirmation that I'm a wonderful person. Yes, that's why we're doing it. So don't expect to feel connected to this practice. You don't need to be for it to be really, really powerful. The purpose of cultivating these practices is to be able to derail negative thinking and de-escalate moments of emotional activation. The key to using them successfully is to do them when you are feeling well, kind of like developing a rap plan, right? You do that when you're feeling well so that you're not trying to come up with this in the moment and use it when you're not feeling at your best. For gratitude, when working with peers, if they're having challenges coming up with things that they have gratitude for, I recommend, what have you regained since you have started your recovery? Who are you connected to? And that they keep it really basic. So for me, I have my house, my car, and my dog. And those are just the three that I have on repeat. You can also think about kindness that you've received, people in your support network, maybe a pet that you have. It doesn't have to be something special or out of the ordinary for it to work. For affirmations, this is used to set an intention. Oftentimes, what do I need for today? How do I want to behave today? So one that I might use is, I deserve to be cared about, or I am lovable. I don't need to believe that at 7:30 in the morning when I wake up, right? But I'm setting that intention and I'm telling myself those things so that they become second nature. You can also use goals that you have. So I am making progress, or I will get to 90 days. Something like that would be really effective. All right, on to awe. So research is touting awe as the future of mindfulness. And awe is defined as an emotional experience in which we sense being in the presence of something that transcends our normal perception of the world. It is the only emotion, and research has studied this and backs this up, that we can feel simultaneously with so-called negative emotions. So I can be sad and experience awe. I can be angry and experience awe. And the really cool thing about awe is that it's contagious. When we share our moments of awe with others, we inspire awe in them. And Viktor Frankl has a quote that Meryl and I love, and it is, between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. This is the all-powerful pause that we talk so much about in recovery. And developing the ability to pause lets us move from reacting to responding. So how do we do this? There are three types of awe. The first one is sensorial. That's just a fancy way of saying using your five senses. The second one is interconnected awe. This is relational. It can be a relationship with a pet, a relationship with a person. It doesn't even need to be real. It could be a memory or something that you imagine. Maybe it's watching your child grow over the course of time, or maybe it's a moment when you were brushing their hair. It's really personal to you. The last one is conceptual awe. These are those thoughts that make you go, wow. For example, looking at photos from the James Webb Telescope and realizing that the light in those pictures is billions of years old. Or feeling the sun on your skin and being reminded that the light you're feeling has taken millions of years to get to you at that very moment. These types of awe often overlap, and awe can easily be combined with gratitude to enhance both practices. So our first question for the chat is, where do you find awe?
Can we respond? Is that what we can do now?
Yeah, type
Sure.
it in the chat, please.
Okay.
I'm
Hey,
seeing a
y'all,
lot of.
oh, sorry. I can wait.
This is Haley Gibbs. I'm not sure how to do that in the chat.
Do you want to just share? You're welcome to just share where you experience awe. I'm seeing lots of nature. I'm seeing lots of babies, gym, cooking, music, friends
Sunrises and
succeeding.
sunsets.
Sunrises and sunsets. The
Landing,
beach.
landing on the deck of an aircraft carrier at 3 o'clock in the morning and looking out the ocean.
Mm. Wow.
Golden Corral. Yes, Golden Corral.
Someone said their wife. That's
Oh.
really sweet.
Could you hear me, Miss Meryl?
Did you say sunrise and sunset?
Yeah, I said it like that. Me and my husband usually go and we'll watch people at the square and we'll watch TikTok and just sit there and watch people. And yeah, we can see the sunrise and the sunset from our porch. Like in the morning times, it's perfect coming up, and in the evenings, it's perfect going down. You can see it all. So that's kind of that's my all really, like when you think about it.
I love that. And I feel like you guys answered so quickly. You all had a very quick response to that, which is so powerful to know where you can reach for awe.
This is Norris. My awe is sometimes when I just pack my car up on my days off and just run right to the beach or any body of water, especially like in the dusk when it's dark, and I just listen to the water move, and I understand that this is no power by another man.
Mm.
And just hear the waves and listening to how powerful they are, first of all, how common they are, and all those different things. And then for some reason in my spirit, when I return home, I feel a sense of calm for days at a time. And I have this peace in my spirit that's just unshakable. That's my
Beautiful. Thank you
oh,
for
look at God. Go
Thank you.
God, go God.
This is Miranda Rains. My awe is after long days of work and working with my peers, I get the opportunity to come home, get in a nice bathtub with bubbles and candles, and I just lay there and I relax until I get wrinkles on my toes. I am so grateful for Bath and Body Works.
Love that. Thank you,
See how that
Miranda.
awe and gratitude got combined right there? Are already doing it, y'all. What I think is really important about what you guys have shared is these were not exceptional experiences. So I saw somebody put in racetrack, right? I don't have to go to the Grand Canyon to experience awe. Somebody said bird watching, right? Everything you guys have said is something that's easily accessible. And that's really important, especially when encouraging peers to engage in these practices, that it's accessible. All right.
Oh, okay.
All right, so how do we practice this awe? It's a 3-step micro practice. This is a micro mindfulness practice. And Meryl is going to walk us through.
I am. And before I do, I just want to take a minute to sort of connect all the dots, because we just went through a lot of information very quickly, right? And what I want to point out is that when we're looking at mindfulness as a practice, the very first bullet point that Miles shared was presence. It's to be present. And I think it's really easy to gloss over that word because most of us know what it means. We're like, right, present, I'm here, got it, move on to the next one. Something must be more challenging. And presence is such an ask for us today. I'm confident most of us on this call today have at some point in our lives, if not today, been on the way home from work or the store or school, and you have arrived at your front door and thought, I have no idea how I got here. I don't remember the roads. I don't remember the stop sign. Was there a red light? Did I stop? We just are there, right? Because we weren't present. We were doing something that was so rote. We know exactly where to go to get home. We don't have to pay attention. Our senses have sort of shut down. We're not seeing, we're not hearing, we're not smelling, we're not tasting. And instead, our mind has this opportunity to go back and review what's already happened today, or maybe leap forward into all the things that are going to come later. And when we're introducing a mindfulness practice, sometimes the most challenging piece is just to figure out, how do I get present and stay present for longer than half a breath? So this awe practice is an incredible way to get ourselves present very quickly. I see right here that somebody posted it's intentional. Yes, that's exactly right. Awe, mindfulness, these are functions of attention and intention, right? I must be paying attention to what's here right now with intentionality. And that's really what we're starting to do when we talk about an awe practice. So this practice was developed by researchers of the emotion awe, as well as mindfulness practitioners. And what they were looking to do was to understand, the science had clearly shown awe is a powerful emotion, right? It is important for us to regularly access this emotion for our emotional balance and well-being. And like Miles said, most of us don't have the opportunity every single day to walk out the door and witness something huge like the Grand Canyon, or a baby being born, or a beautiful example of love. And so the researchers started looking at, how can I make this a micro practice? Something that we can put into our pockets and use all day, every day, without it having to be this big, difficult thing. And so awe, the emotion, also gets to be an acronym, right? The A stands for attention. We're going to pay attention. Most important piece, right? The W stands for wait, which means once I get myself here, once I wake myself up and say, hey, pay attention, what's here right now? And I land on this moment, I got to hang out here just for a breath. You'll see this practice is like a 15 to 20-second practice. One breath. I got to linger long enough to really let my awareness settle. And then the E is exhale. And that exhale is the reminder that we need to take a full breath. When we lengthen that exhale out, I'm sure a lot of you have heard before, that long exhale activates our parasympathetic nervous system. So it creates that rest and digest, that relaxation response for us. And it also invites that feeling of awe to expand a bit, right? And so we get these micro experiences of awe. And what the science showed, so they studied this clinically during COVID, actually. And I see this question. Yes, you will get the presentation in an email afterwards. So they were studying this practice during COVID, and they specifically were studying with people in the medical profession who were experiencing burnout at unprecedented rates in 2020, 2021, and 2022. And what they found was that by incorporating this practice 3 times a day, burnout rates were significantly reduced. And medical practitioners were able to show up and bring with them the sense that they wanted to bring with them, which was a sense of compassion, caring, and energy for the work that they were doing. So I want us to practice this together. And we'll do it together. I'm going to share, a lot of you shared nature, and you can always practice with the thing, right? The thing that you just named, that you're like, every time I think about this, I feel awe. For me, the example I always use is the moon, always. Because when I walk outside and I look up and I see the moon, I always take a moment to remember that every single ancestor I have ever had also looked up and saw that exact same moon. And without doubt, that creates a feeling of awe for me. But it doesn't have to be something big like that, right? Like I was thinking, as I was thinking about the practice we're going to do today, I'm sitting at my desk here. So I have my laptop, and I also have a glass of water, I have some pens and stuff over here, some papers. And I was thinking, like, what here on my desk in this moment creates awe for me? And it might be that I'm fortunate enough to live in a place where I can turn on a tap and fill a glass of water to drink. And it might be that my old beat up desk was my mother-in-law's, and before hers, I think it was her father's. So I have this like old antique desk with lots of love in it. It might be the handwritten note from my kid on the bulletin board, right? So I want us to try this together for a minute, if you would be willing to do that with me. And what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you can sit with your feet flat on the ground, do that. And then maybe just straighten up a bit. So this is bringing in a bit of that intentionality. Like, I need to name for myself, I'm doing a practice right now. This is my moment of awe. And so as you feel yourself wake up a little bit, just take a minute to scan around the room that you're in and see if you land on something that makes you say, wow. That inspires that sense of connection or openness or gratitude. And we use our senses, we pay attention. And as you land on that thing for you, whatever it might be, I want you to take a full breath. So you're going to breathe in through your nose if you can. And then open your mouth and release a long, slow sigh. And just give yourself that last second to let the feeling of awe expand in your body. And then just like that, you're done. And you would do this little practice and then go about your day. And perhaps set a reminder on your phone or your desk to try it again in a couple hours. And again a couple hours later, so that 3 times a day, you take a 20-second break to pay attention, to wait in that moment, and to exhale fully. And this micro practice helps connect us to presence. So it helps connect us to the larger mindfulness practice. But it also gives us immediate benefits to our nervous system right now, even if sitting in a meditation for 10 minutes is out of the question for you today. This practice delivers an initial level of benefit. I'm going to just pause here for a moment and ask if there are any questions about the awe practice itself or what we've talked about thus far. You could type them in the chat or raise your virtual hand. Okay. If questions come up, feel free to type them into the chat. Miles, I'll hand it back to you.
All right, thank you, Meryl. And to kind of wrap up from a peer perspective, this practice is really powerful because, like Meryl said, if sitting down and meditating is out of the question, or if you're someone who experiences, let's say, ADHD, this could be the practice for you. This could be your mindfulness practice. So it's super accessible. And another way to start it is to attach it to something that you already regularly do. Maybe it is your shower in the morning or in the evening, or your bubble bath, right? Or your cup of coffee in the morning. That's a really easy way to get started, just smelling your coffee. And from there, after that moment of nice peacefulness with awe, we're going to move into emergencies. So in early recovery, there are often emergencies, real and imagined. And in recovery, we often start by identifying a behavior, right, that we want to stop, for instance, using. And from there, we kind of back up and say, okay, well, what are you feeling? That's why a lot of us are familiar with this lovely feelings wheel. And in early recovery, we start to identify what we're feeling. And it can be really, really difficult if your peer doesn't have the language to identify the feeling that they're experiencing, or if approaching that feeling is unfamiliar, or if the feeling gets too big or overwhelming. So, mindfulness can help peers approach feelings in a safe way, in an incremental way, by focusing on where in the body they are experiencing something. And this is a baby step to figuring out what emotion is happening for them in that moment. And what's really important here, what's important through all of these practices, is a sense of safety. We talk a lot about trauma informed care. So it's really important that when working with peers in any of these practices, they have choice, right? If closing their eyes to do this practice is not okay for them, then they don't need to close their eyes. If they need to get up and move around during a practice and not sit still, that's okay too. Whatever is happening in that moment is okay. And I encourage you to welcome it and to let your peers know that what they need is in this moment is what is most important, not adhering to a practice or a set of rules that the practice may have in it. Meryl, would you share a little bit about embodied awareness with us?
Yeah, this is a bit of a tipping point I have noticed in mindfulness groups that I have led. So typically, what I've seen over the years is, we would enter into our 1 p.m. group and we would have a check-in, right? How are you doing today? How are you feeling today? And very often, what I would see would be I'm going to glance at the feeling wheel and I'm going to pick something and I'm going to state it and I'm going to pass the wheel to the next person and we're just going to like keep going. And somewhere along the way, I started tweaking the question and I would say, how are you feeling today? And where do you feel that in your body? And when I asked that question, often there would be silence, or like I don't understand, or I can't identify it, or like I'm going to pretend you didn't ask me that and just go to the next person because I don't know. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to get into my body. And most of us learned at a really early age how to find that moment when you're like, I don't want to feel this anymore. And so I'm going to do anything I can to not feel this. And you might remember a few slides back as Miles was pointing out some of the benefits of a mindfulness practice. The third benefit on the screen was distress tolerance. This is my favorite benefit of a mindfulness practice. If I could describe mindfulness in any way, the first thing I would say is that it helps you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It helps you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And a big piece of that is learning, how do I get back into my body and identify what it is I'm actually feeling? Because I can spout out words all day, but likely on a cognitive level, I can name something that feels really obvious. Anger is usually one that's really easy to identify. I know when I'm angry and I can say, I am angry today. But when I really take the time to get into my body and pay attention to what I'm feeling and where I'm feeling it, almost always for me, when I'm feeling angry, I am also feeling either shameful or scared. And I don't ever pick those on a feeling wheel, ever, right? And so a big piece of our work in this practice is to very gently, as Miles said, incredibly safely, encourage patients to start, or clients to start working towards, what do I actually feel in my body? And then giving them the invitation, can I stay here for one more breath? And sometimes the answer is going to be no. We got to stop the practice and do something else. And sometimes the answer is, yeah, I can stay for one breath. And if the answer is, yeah, I can stay, you take that breath and then you ask the question again. And over time, we start to build this resilience, this awareness that, no, I do not feel okay. And yes, I know that I'm okay feeling this. That's really the work that we're starting to do when we invite people into a mindfulness practice.
All right, so let's talk about fear and anxiety. So these first tools that we're going to talk about are really tools to help with anxiety. So fear is a response to something that's actually happening. The bear is actually going to eat me, right? And anxiety is future focus. It is about something that is not happening in the moment. So these skills are going to help us manage surviving the moment of anxiety. When we are physically doing something, we are present. There's not a way to be physical and not be present. So a really easy way is what we call grounding. That can be by touching something, right? That's why when Meryl has us begin an exercise, she says, can you put your feet flat on the floor? That's an initial step in grounding. The goal with these practices isn't to not be anxious. It's to lessen the anxiety enough so that you can get through the moment, which will hopefully give us enough time for that pause and to make the best decision for us about how we want to move forward. Grounding is a self-soothing technique that helps us focus in the present moment. And these techniques can be particularly helpful when working with anxiety. So the first one we're going to talk about is the 5-finger breath. And usually your fingers are about the same length on one side as the other. So when we're practicing the 5-finger breath, it automatically evens out our breathing. And your breathing regulates your emotional state, just like your emotional state will influence your breathing. So if you can influence either one of those ends of the spectrum, you have a little more control, a little more distress tolerance over what's going on. All right, so Meryl, will you take us through our 5-finger breath?
Yeah, so this is called a Band-Aid technique. This is a meditative practice that can last 30 seconds to 3 or 4 minutes, depending on how long you want to do it. And it is truly meant to be used in a moment when you feel dysregulated. So I've had a stressful encounter, something scary happened to me, I'm feeling agitated for some reason. This is a practice that you would lean into. And Miles is exactly right. You know, within meditation, often it is said that the breath and the mind are the twin laws of life. And as goes one, goes the other. So when I'm really stressed out or anxious or scared or mad, my breathing tends to be really short and choppy. And of course, when I'm relaxed and I'm safe and I feel calm, my breathing is nice and slow and fluid. And so what we want to do is to use this practice to even out our breath. You do not need to strain. You should not feel out of breath or like you're holding your breath. You're just going to do it at your comfortable pace. So I'm going to hold my hand up so that you can see it on the screen, but your hands could just be resting palms face up on your lap or on top of the desk in front of you. And you would start by placing your thumb at the base of your pinky finger. Yeah, I'm going to show you, and then we're going to do this together for a minute. So my thumb at the base of my pinky finger, when I inhale, I'm sliding my thumb to the top of the pinky finger. And when I exhale, I'm sliding my thumb back down to the base. And then I'm going to move to my ring finger and I'm going to inhale all the way up to the top. And I'm going to exhale all the way down to the base. And I'm going to move through each of my fingers. And you can repeat just on one hand. You can switch hands if you like. The idea here is I'm just giving myself time to even and slow my breath. So let's try this together. Same thing as before. If you can, feet flat on the ground. Find a comfortable position for your hands, palms face up. They can rest on your lap or the desk, I'll continue to hold mine up so that you can see it. And please remember that you can do this at your own pace. You do not have to be in sync with me. So breathe in a way that feels comfortable. And we're going to just start together with an easy inhale, exhale, no finger movement yet. So take a breath in and release out a sigh. And then as you inhale, slide your thumb up to the top of the pinky finger. And as you exhale, slide down. As you inhale, slide up the ring finger all the way to the top. And as you exhale, slide down. And then middle finger, inhaling, sliding all the way up. And exhaling all the way down. Index finger, inhaling all the way up. Exhaling all the way down. We're going to repeat one time. So back to the pinky finger for your inhale. And down. To the ring finger, inhaling up. Feeling thumb against finger. And exhaling down. And then middle finger, inhaling up, no rush, your own pace. And exhaling down. Index finger, inhaling all the way up to the top. And exhaling all the way down to the base. And then just releasing that and giving yourself a second to notice how you feel. 8 breaths. How did that land for you guys? Did you feel it shift how you were feeling? You can type in the chat. You can thumbs up, thumbs down. Amazing. Good practice. Very calming. Awesome. And good, thumbs up. I see a thumbs up. Okay, excellent. I'm glad that that landed for you guys. This is a nice one to have in your pocket. This is how I go to sleep every night. Awesome. That adding that sense of tangibility, you know, every meditation that you do, somebody's going to say to you, pay attention to your breath. That it's just inevitable. Somebody's going to say it in your meditation, pay attention to your breath. And that can be so hard. But when we add that touch, when we link something physical to it, it suddenly becomes very tangible, very grounded, and a little easier to do. Good. I'm just scanning through these comments. Yes, you can do this with both hands at the same time. Absolutely. Great question. You absolutely can. Miles, back to you.
Yeah, and I just want to add, as a person in recovery, one of the things I like about this practice in particular is I can do it in the doctor's waiting room, right? I can have my hand in my pocket if I'm having a tough conversation with someone at work. It's really discreet, so I can do it at any moment that I need it. Another one that's along the same lines is just squinching my toes in my shoes, right? I can do that exact same thing with breathing and squinching my toes, and nobody knows that I'm squinching my toes to get through this moment or to get through this meeting or to get through this whatever it is. So having the ability to be able to do this practice wherever I'm at is really important. And
let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, go.
I hope that that little song is familiar to all of us. In recovery, we often talk about acceptance and letting go of whatever it is. But as children, we're often taught to be still and quiet, right? Children should be seen and not heard, not to express what's happening to us in the moment. But when we hold on to those experiences and emotions, they get trapped in our body and they can actually lead to negative health consequences. So mindfulness is asking us to do the exact opposite of that and to let those emotions, experiences, thoughts, to let them go and not hold them in our bodies. And this is done by moving the body. I recently heard at one of our conferences that emotion demands motion. And I love that. So the first practice that we're going to talk about is shaky hands. And I love this practice. It's a little less discreet, but it helps especially when I'm feeling high anxiety about something, because I'm literally just Taylor Swift shaking it off, right? If you really want to get into it, you can do it with your whole body. But often I'll just do it with my hands or my arms, and that's enough to help me move through the moment. The second one would be the wall push. This I like to use when I work with peers with anger management. So the key with the wall push is that whatever you're pushing on is well anchored to something. When I first started trying out this practice, I did it on something that was not anchored and almost pushed a counter over. So you can do this on a wall, pushing straight against the wall for as hard as you can. If you're right now seated at a desk, you could also do it by pushing down. Again, make sure that you're not going to push over the desk, but by pushing down for as hard as you can. It's really important to remember with all of these physical practices that even while I'm pushing, I'm breathing. I'm not holding my breath, right? So I can push and still breathe at the same time. The last one would be the full body clench. So many of us have heard about progressive muscle relaxation, where we're going to scan either from the bottom, like from our feet up, or from our head down, and identify whatever area is tense in that moment and relax it. And this practice is kind of the exact opposite of that. So rather than relaxing, I'm going to progressively clench each muscle. And then relax it. I'm going to move through my entire body and do that. Meryl, would you like to take us through that practice in particular?
Yeah, we will just try them really quickly together. And just like Miles said, so we'll start with shaky hands. It can be shaky body. The idea being really for fear and anxiety, we want to get everything moving, because when we get scared, a lot of times what we do is like clench our entire body and hold it in. We hold our breath, we freeze. And this shakiness is just to remind us like, oh, I got to move this out of my body. I can't hold on to it. This is what I do before all my classes, is it just gives me an opportunity to shake off what I'm holding and enter fresh. So just easy, guys. Pick your arms up and shake them out for a minute. And better if you can like get your elbows in your shoulders a little bit. Like you really want some movement. And if you're by yourself and on a screen, you might stand up and like shake your legs, shake your feet, whole body, like just, and then you can just release that. Nice, good. Love that movement. Nice way to release. The
I always
wall
end up
press.
smiling after that. Like,
There's always smiling after
I
a
don't
good
know.
shake.
Yeah.
Always. Because we don't, do the hokey pokey. That's right. It's countercultural in a way. Like we're not really encouraged to get up and shake, right? Anybody who has a kid and they've laid down in the middle of a store and had a tantrum, you're like, oh my God, stop doing that, right? But really, we all need to have a tantrum sometimes and just get it out of our bodies. So the wall press is anger. I am mad and I need to get this moving through my body. If you want to stand up and go to a wall right now, please feel free. If you have a steady desk in front of you, you can just place your hands on the desk, but find something solid. I'll just give a second. Yeah, movement is medicine. Love that. So find a spot, a wall, a desk, place your palms flat on it or flat on the wall in front of you. Remember to breathe. So you're going to take a breath and then you're going to push as hard as you can. Push, push and breathe. And then release. And notice how you almost instinctively go like, huh, there's like a little bit of a release. Yeah. And then the last one is the full body clench. And you can do this seated, right? But what you're going to do is you're going to take a big breath in, and then you're going to hold your breath and you're going to make fists with your hands and you're going to make fists with your toes and you're going to pick your feet up off the ground so that your thighs have to clench and your hips have to clench and your belly has to clench. And then you're going to kind of scrunch up your face and we're going to hold it just another breath and then release everything. That's any emotion. You can use that for any emotion. It's fabulous to do before you go to bed at night as a way to release your day. It is fabulous to do if you have just led a tough group and now you're in the car and you have to go do something else. Take 10 seconds, do the full body clench. Yeah, thanks, Miles.
All right, so these were really tangible physical practices to bring us into the moment and survive whatever's happening. We're about to move into more cognitive practices. And as we do this, I want to ask you guys, how comfortable are you in offering yourself compassion?
And you'll see this as a poll on your screen. How comfortable are you in offering yourself compassion? Nice. I'm seeing good answers here.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to give it one more second. Good. Okay. Here, let's see. So mostly I'm working on it and it's still a challenge. Me too. Me too.
All right, so you 2% of people, you 2%ers who said compassion yuck, I am with you. When I started these practices, compassion to me felt like excuses. It felt like justifying whatever I was doing and being like, well, it's okay. I'm going to be kind to myself and let myself eat this entire gallon of ice cream because I'm being compassionate, right? And that's not what compassion is at all. Compassion is really recognizing that this is a moment of distress. This is painful. What that person said was hurtful, or I'm really tired today, right? You may not feel like you deserve compassion, and you do. I love that. I believe it was, it's a DBT, the lady who did DBT. She had the foundational belief in that practice is that everyone is doing the best they can in this moment. And when I hold that, especially with the peers that I work with, when I work with them, it changes the way I work with other people. When I recognize that everyone is doing the best they can in this moment. And I think I want to ask the poll question, Meryl. So a lot of you said, I am actively practicing compassion, but it's still a challenge. Sorry, not the poll question, the chat question. So what is it that you find challenging about offering yourself compassion?
You'll see this question in the chat. Is there anything you find challenging about offering yourself compassion? You can type your answer into the chat. If you want to share something, you could raise a virtual hand. I can't see everybody's picture, which is why I'm saying raise the virtual hand. Judgment from others that I cannot let go of. Holding yourself to too high a standard. Sometimes I don't believe I
Meryl,
deserve it.
Can you repeat what you wanted us to type in the chat?
Yeah. What do you find challenging about offering yourself compassion?
Ooh. Everything.
Yeah, these are good questions. Sometimes it feels fake, forgiveness of the past, lots of judgment here.
And then
Yes.
you feel like sometimes, no, I really ask this question a lot. And my husband will like vouch for that. I'm like, does that really forgiveness? Did I really forgive this person? Or I mean, because I say I do and I want to, but
yeah,
I still have feelings that I don't know if they come with forgiveness. You know what I'm saying?
So I think that's where compassion is really important, right? Just when we talked about the grounding practices, and that it's not about not feeling anxious or not feeling angry. Compassion isn't about, feeling forgiveness. It's about recognizing that I am doing my best to forgive this person. And you know what? I still have feelings. And that's okay. I can still have feelings and be working on forgiveness. That's what compassion is all about. For me, compassion changed things. Oh, let me do this. Um, Compassion changed things when I realized that the obstacles that I encountered, for instance, it seemed like my truck in early recovery broke down like every other month, right? And that's not what I had budgeted for. And that would send me over the edge every other month because I'm like, this is not supposed to be happening. And the reality is that those bumps in the road are not obstacles. That actually is the road. And this is where compassion changed things for me because instead of going, this shouldn't be happening, my narrative, what I was telling myself, changed to, this is happening and it's really painful. Mm-hmm. And I encourage you to speak these words out loud. So acknowledging it inside in your mind is one thing, right? And saying it out loud is a completely different experience. Often we didn't hear those things earlier in life. Maybe I didn't hear that thing today that I needed to hear, right? I heard the judgment from my coworker, and now that's what's on replay in my mind. When what I could be hearing is, wow, that was really like uncomfortable what they said to me. And I'm still thinking about it, and I wish I wasn't. And that was, I see we have some hands up.
Yeah, Leanne, do you want to share?
Yeah, you can call me Lee.
Lee.
Yeah, it's a thing. I got my cares under Leanne, and so, but it doesn't matter. But compassion, I find it really, really hard. I think it's one of my biggest weaknesses sometimes, because I'm too compassionate, and it leads me to um, my emotional stability being compromised. And I'm working on that because I don't have very much compassion for myself. Miles, I heard you talking about your that with a coworker. The same thing happened to me yesterday, and it bothered me so bad that it affected me all day long. And I didn't have any compassion for myself, and she was simply doing what I asked her to do. Is she came to me and told me what was bothering her about something that I did, but I took it very personal, and I'm just really hard on myself. And so that's what I'm practicing right now, compassion for myself, but being compassionate for other people. I feel like sometimes I'm too compassionate, and it leads to me getting very hurt, if that makes any sense. I might have not just made any sense, but that's about where I'm at with that.
It totally makes sense, Lee. And, we could do a whole another 1.5 hour training on compassion. Maybe we'll do that one next. But what I will say is compassion has very intense boundaries. Compassion has very intense boundaries. And it is very easy to hear the word compassion and think that means I have to bend over backwards for somebody else, or I have to sacrifice myself in order to make others feel a certain way. And really, what compassion is asking us to do is show up as our honest, authentic selves in the way that we can best be. Yeah. Sarah, please share.
Hey, I just wanted to share briefly. I have a mentor that I was driving. I live in Athens, and I was driving to Atlanta and back every single Monday through Friday for some months over just traumatic events that were going on. And she had me regularly practice what she called baby dragon breath. And so that's going back to what we just did. And then in terms of compassion, she would have me go into the woods if I could, and when I could, I did, or put my face in a pillow and just let it roar. And she called that practicing deep compassion. And I never really understood that until now. So I
I love that.
appreciate a better understanding. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Miranda.
I put in the I put in the chat that it makes me be honest, and it takes me to the point where I realize that I can help other people, but there are times when I can't always help myself. Last week, I work at Recovery Connections, and I'm the program director for Recovery Foundations, our residential facility also. And God has blessed me with 27 years of recovery, right? And last week, my son OD'd. And I found out when I was at work, and it was like I was just paralyzed, and I couldn't think anymore after that. I was full of fear, and I was full of worry. And when I got home, all I could do was just cry and pray. And I talked about it to my sister. She's amazing. She pure. She was the one that that the addiction in my family did not hit. She should be my sponsor, but I can't let her do that. So she told me that I need to remember that I am a wounded healer. And I was like, wow. And that helped me. So compassion will make me reach out for help. It'll make me reach out for help because I cannot, no matter what I think, I do not have all of the answers. My life is not perfect. No matter how long I stay clean, I am still going to be a human being. And that compassion brings out my humanness. And sometimes I don't always like it when God brings my humanness out in front of people. I really wish sometimes that He would let me know, the day before that He's going to do these things, but He never gives me that opportunity. Yeah, and I just wanted to share that.
Miranda, what an unbelievable example you've just given everybody of offering yourself compassion. Thank you for being so brave to share that with all of us. Norris, please share.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank Miranda also for that. That was powerful, powerful. Yes. So I remember being told, when coming into recovery about, certain things, I needed to identify exactly what these things mean. So I can't just come up with, there's a word and then what I think. I need to really research and find out what it means. So for me, I remember early on, compassion. Is it really compassion? Is that the reality, or am I just compromising my feelings for a behavior, if that makes sense, and letting other people, because again, during those times of either childhood up to an adult, and then the substance abuse in between, and then letting other people abuse me, then when it comes to me now trying to, I better really get a good grip on what compassion means, because I will revert to that behavior, and next thing you know, I become a victim again. So I have to really define what that means. Otherwise, guess what? If don't nothing change, don't nothing change. And I have to have help. That's why I love going to meetings, because I always seem to get my answer for somebody else that's going through it, or sitting in a arena like this and hearing somebody else share something that I can directly identify with. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I will share two definitions of compassion for y'all to think about. The first of which you'll see if you look it up. So if you look up compassion, what you will see is something along the lines of to be with someone suffering. To be with someone suffering. It does not say anything about fixing, helping, or doing anything other than being with someone suffering, including your own. So that's definition 1. And then definition 2 is my personal favorite. And this comes from Gregory Boyle, who maybe some of you know. He is a Jesuit priest out of California. He works in gang rehabilitation, and he wrote a book called Tattoos on the Heart, which I could not recommend more if you've not read it. And in it, he describes compassion as I'm going to read it so I get it right, to stand in awe of what someone has to carry rather than stand in judgment of how they carry it. To stand in awe of what someone has to carry rather than stand in judgment of how they carry it. And you might just say that to yourself. I stand in awe of what I have to carry without judgment of how I carry it. Yeah, Miles, I'll pass it back to you for the minute.
Yep. So we're going to go a little bit quickly because I know we're getting short on time and we wanted to have some time at the end for any questions that remained. So 2 major ways that we can show ourselves and those around us compassion is with our words and our bodies. So touch is a way that we can co-regulate. A 20-second hug releases oxytocin into the brain, right? The physical touch from another, if that physical touch from another doesn't feel safe or isn't okay, or we also need to be mindful as peers of our ethical boundaries, we can provide that touch, or your peer can provide that touch to themselves. And one that I hear a lot is putting your hand over your heart. That's great. That is not necessarily my go-to. My go-to is my hands on my thighs. I'm not sure why. That's what works for me. So whatever touch feels most comforting, you could also give yourself a hug. This is bilateral stimulation that will also regulate your nervous system. Whatever touch feels best for you, you can give to yourself. You don't need someone else to do that. And we've talked about the importance of our words and not just thinking it in our head, because I saw a lot of you in the chat saying, well, it kind of feels like justifying. Saying it out loud, it sounds different than hearing it in your head, right? Imagining that someone that you care about was saying that to you changes how you hear it. So the last practice we're going to get to today is our tiny little meditation, and it is called a bhavana meditation. And this is about asking for what you need. So you've shown yourself some compassion, right? You survived the moment with some grounding. You've shown yourself compassion by saying, that was really hard and I feel blank. Now is the time to ask for what you need. And the reality is, if I ask another person, they may not be able to give it to me, right? There may not be anybody around to ask. So this is a way that I can provide to myself what it is that I need in that moment. And Meryl, I'm going to let you take us through our miniature bhavana practice.
So bhavana is a Pali word. Pali is the language that predates Sanskrit. And bhavana means to steep, like you steep a cup of tea, right? So the tea bag is filled with a myriad of herbs and tea leaves, and you place it in hot water. It steeps in the hot water, and the water takes on the quality of all of those herbs and tea leaves, right? And so this practice is steeping ourselves in the things that we most need. And it's actually the way I start my day every single day, is by asking myself, what is it that I most need for today? How do I want to show up? What do I want to feel? I tend to pick 3 words. That feels like a good tea blend for me. So 3 words. And we don't have a ton of time, but I do want to point out that, every word carries an emotional connotation to it, an emotional weight to it. That's why sometimes cussing feels so good, right? It's like it's got the weight of what you're feeling in your body when you say it. But
I
yes.
got to comment on that. I want to comment on that. Can I?
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
I always tell my husband, I'm like, you know, I might can forgive you for something that you've said, but there is two things that are for sure. A person is never going to forget the way you made them feel with what you say. They can forgive you, but they're always going to remember the way you made them feel. And then that wall goes up. And then how many walls go up when people do that? You know what I'm saying? How many walls do you have put up? Do you even get down to the core of who you really are?
And that's it, is you're turning that to yourself, right? Because we all are having a conversation with ourselves all day, every day.
Yeah.
And this is our moment to speak some kindness and to add the
Mhm.
qualities that we most need for ourselves. So let's just do a 2-3 minute practice together if we can. Okay. This is our last practice of the evening. And I'm going to invite you to sit in a way that feels the most comfortable to you right now. So if you're in a chair, you might lean back against the chair, feet on the ground. If you're on a couch and you want to lay down, beautiful. Wherever you feel the most comfortable in this moment is great. You can let your hands rest on your lap. And you get to decide if you would like to close your eyes. If that feels good, feel free. And if that doesn't feel right or safe today, just take a soft gaze. And together as a group, we're going to take a breath. So we'll take a deep inhale in. And you're going to exhale out a sigh. And you might just do that again, inhaling deeply, sort of gathering up your whole day today. And with an exhale, let it go. And then allow your breath just to flow. And as you think about the hours you have left in today, just ask yourself, what is it that you most need right now? What is it that you most need right now? Maybe come up with 2 words. Whatever comes to mind to you is welcome. It might be patience, it might be joy, it might be connection or restful, peaceful. And you're going to let yourself breathe easily. And the first word that came to mind for you, the first word, just silently say it to yourself for the next few seconds. As you inhale, as you exhale silently to yourself, just name this quality that you most need. You might feel the word flowing on your breath or settling into your body. And then if there was a second word for you this evening, say that word now, silently to yourself, repeating on the inhale and the exhale, steeping yourself in the qualities you most need. Take a minute just to breathe. Maybe to scan through your body and just notice how it feels to place those 2 qualities within you, to name them for yourself. And trusting that those 2 qualities are now part of your evening. We'll just begin to wiggle our fingers and our toes. It's a nice cue that the practice is about to end. And then we'll finish together with 1 breath, an inhale in and a soft sigh out. Taking all the time you need to let go of that practice, to open your eyes if they were closed. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you so much, Meryl. That is like probably my all-time fave, and I use it in my car in the morning before I go into work to set myself up for the day that I want to have. So we have just a few minutes left, and I want to make sure that we do a quick recap. So we started off, we've covered a lot today, and we started off laying a foundation of fallback practices with gratitude and affirmations. Then we talked about awe and giving yourself a moment to rest and reset with this practice. And we did some grounding and movement to manage moments of distress. And most importantly, through it all, practicing kindness with that compassion. And the key with all of these is baby steps. Mindfulness is about practice, not about perfection. That's why they're called practices. Thank you all for sharing your time with Meryl and I tonight. And I think Meryl's going to wrap us up with some ways to engage our peers specifically.
Yeah, thank you guys. I did want to take a minute just to talk about how you might bring this to others. And I'll start by saying I really believe the most important piece is that you just do your own practice. And if you do your own practice, you will be well equipped to share it with others, right? That is the most important part. And it can be just like with compassion, it can be so easy to be like, this is amazing. I'm going to go teach this to my partner and my kids and my roommate and all my peers. But really, we have to start with ourselves. So please take one of these micro practices from tonight and see if you can just weave it into the next couple days. And all of the science shows that it is really the consistency that matters way more than the length of time. So if you do a 30-second practice every day, it is more valuable than doing a 20-minute meditation once a week. So pick one of these micro practices, start doing it every day. And then you can think about either sharing it with others if you feel comfortable or finding a recording. There's amazing meditations on YouTube. There are apps all over the place. There are podcasts. I have a podcast. And you can find recordings and share them and start to bring it into any of your peer interactions or groups that you might facilitate. The piece that I would really pull out of this presentation more than anything is that these small, tangible practices tend to be the most beneficial, especially early in recovery. Showing up with a 20-minute meditation is going to be a huge ask for a lot of us. But saying, hey, let's take 15 seconds and see if we can access awe, or let's do 5 fingers. I saw a lot of you like that one. Let's do this 5-finger breathing because you can take it home and do it anytime you need it. I'm going to hit pause here. I'm going to open it up for questions. Feel free to throw them in the chat or again, raise the virtual hand, and Miles and I will do our best to answer them. Thank you guys. So I see all your lovely comments and I so appreciate all your attention and participation. Yeah, Dave, please.
Years ago, I had a very excitable young guy I was working with. I mean, this guy was high wired from the moment he stepped out of bed. And I have no idea where this came from. I do now, but I just had this moment of inspiration. I said, look, when you get up and you put your feet on the floor, I want you to just stop and take 5 deep breaths. I had no idea that 20 years later, I'm going to be hearing about it right here. Amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing that. What amazing advice you offered. I love that. I'll share a similar story really quick. When I was very early teaching in recovery, and I had a lot of people in
Hey,
group
Bob.
that had a
How are you?
really hard time sitting still. Oh, Dave, there you go. You hit me up. They had a really hard time sitting still. And so I started asking them to wiggle their toes in their shoes during meditation as a way to give purposeful movement. And to this day, I have people come up to me and say, oh my God, do you remember telling me to wiggle my toes in my shoes? I do that all the time. Yeah, Sparkle, please.
Hey, I wanted to ask you a question, and then caught myself being like, oh no, you can just find out on her website or whatever. You don't need to take up space. So I'm going to practice compassion right now and just ask, how did you start your journey?
Um, okay, that's a great question. I started my journey in my early 20s, and I had just gotten my first job and discovered that all of my coping techniques to date were not going to help me through the level of stress I was experiencing. And so I went to a yoga class actually, and I did yoga. I loved it. I became a yoga teacher. And then all of a sudden, people started asking me to teach meditation, and I had zero. I was like, I don't meditate. I don't even know how to explain what meditation is. And so I set out to become a meditation teacher to figure it out. And I realized like how unbelievably hard it is to get good information on meditation, to understand what it is. It was incredibly hard for me to do it. I have an insanely busy mind. I'm never quiet. It was so uncomfortable for me. And I felt like, man, there has got to be a way to make this more accessible. And so I spent the next many years doing a lot of trainings and trying out a lot of different lineages and teasing out the pieces that worked for me. And that's basically how it all started many years ago. Does that answer your question, Sparkle? Yeah. Okay, good. Anybody else? Five-finger exercise. Good. I'm so glad you guys like that.
I saw in the chat, Kayla wanted to say something.
Yes, Kayla, please.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. This is a wonderful presentation. The word intentional. George McFly, I know that's not self-compassionate, but what you said is simple. It sounded a little wild to me to spend the time to put a little alarm on, but I get it. It works. I just want to say something about Miles. I saw Miles with Olive. They were part of the family at the Connection when we were at the old location. They were there all the time. Miles is an immediate leader. He taught SMART, DTR, Dharma. He did amazing gardening, and to see, the challenges he had, how he's overcome them. And he's a fantastic peer coach. By the way, we got the opioid grant, so I'm going to be calling you for some peer coaching. So it's just beautiful. We lose a lot of people who aren't ready for it or choose not to. Shining example, Miles. Very proud of you.
Thank you, Kayla.
And congratulations on Birdie, right?
Yes.
Olive's happy. Olive's happy.
I think what I would like you guys to take from this is that mindfulness, like I know what I thought of mindfulness was like, oh, you have to sit down for 20 minutes and do this thing. And that was not going to happen for me. It just wasn't. And it's taken almost 4 years. And now I can sit and do a 20-minute practice, and that feels good for me. But it took 4 years of intentionally going, okay, I'm going to try this thing that sounds really stupid, but Meryl said to do it. So I'm going to see it so that I can tell her how stupid it is next week and then it doesn't work. Right. So it doesn't matter what that motivation for our peers is, even if it's just to tell us next week that we were wrong, it's getting them engaged in that practice, and that those small things build until it's part of what they can do. And that's what I want this to be, is that mindfulness is something that we can access and that our peers can access.
Thank you
All right.
all.
Yeah, it looks like we have no more questions. And we are right at 6:30. So I thank you guys for being here. I don't know if we have any housekeeping things for the end, but
Yes.
we are good. If you are good, Derek.
Yes, so I really want to say thank you guys, Meryl and Miles. Really appreciated it. A lot of inspiration and hope that tonight too. So I thought this was a great presentation and training. And so on the screen is how you can get in contact with Miles and Meryl. And certificates. Certificates are going to be sent to you sometime next week. They will be coming from Alvin Cotton. If you can just look for Alvin when you search in your email. It'll be sometime next week. And the presentation slides will go along and be sent along with the certificate sent out next week. Um, I'm also reminding you guys to save your CEUs to submit before the end of December 2025, so you can get your credit for your CEUs and keep up your certification. So, uh, I think that's all we have for today. And yes, everybody's good.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so
Thanks, Derek.
hey,
Thank
Derek.
you.
So
Thank you all.
Take care,
Thank you, Derek.
everybody.
You said
Bye-bye.
that.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Excellent job,
Thank
Miles. I'm so
you.
proud of you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, bye.
hey, Derek, you said that this would be coming from who?
Alvin, Al,
Thank you.
Alvin.
yes, Alvin Cotton.
Alvin Cotton.
Who,
Okay.
may I ask who is that speaking?
This is Haley.
Oh, Haley, how you doing? This is Abdul.
And blessed. How are
All
you?
right, so I got a quick question because I went to the Cares Connect and I sent the email to Loree today stating, I was asking about the certificates and she didn't have any record of me being at the Cares Connect. So
Uh,
I was just trying to figure out